BionicDance is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
You hear this one a lot. Science has proven evolution, therefore evolution is true. Since evolution is true and Christians don't believe it, then Christians don't believe science and they aren't rational people. Really, let's put that claim to the test.
Oh my, this'll be fun. A guy speaking faster than your average carnival barker or auctioneer is going to try convincing us that Christians are reasonable people with regard to evolution in a 2.5-minute video. All right, let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Today's video is from Ken Ham. Even though Captain Australia isn't in it, it was released by his tax shelter known as Answers in Genesis, so it's reasonable to assume that it has his full approval. So let's give it a go, shall we?
First off, evolution in the sense that things change is evident. No rational person disputes that. Therefore, rational Christians believe it.
And already we've eliminated a large chunk of the Christian population, though how rational we want to consider people who believe in the great sky cake is a bit of an open question, but let's assume he's right about this particular issue for a worth-considering percentage of those who think torture devices are worth worshipping.
We can observe change, but evolution in the sense that life came from non-life and then that life began to randomly generate new genetic information and over time it eventually produced humans is something entirely different and something that quite honestly doesn't hold up against science. In other words, evolution in the sense of molecules to man is not scientifically plausible and therefore should not be viewed as scientific fact. Quite honestly, it is in great opposition to science, that is, observational science, the kind of science we can test and repeat and use our 5 senses to understand.
It doesn't take much of a Google search to discover how true that isn't. And even if we weren't seeing evolution in real time, the genetic relations between extremely similar species, both present day and ancestrally, coupled with what we know about the conditions that may have led to such change, either points to evolution being the case, or to these genetics being one hell of a prank, either by God or some alien frat boys who like having humanity on. Which seems more likely, do you think?
Science demonstrates that over time, living organisms lose genetic information. They don't gain it.
And once again, a simple search of the internet debunks the ever-loving crap out of this myth. Seriously, dude, can you even internet? Bottom line is that new information is created with every mutation, even if we don't become Ninja Turtles. There's also a process known as gene doubling, which adds new information. The problem is that creationists, intentionally I assume, leave the word information rather vague, making it easier to point at facts and go, nuh-uh. They don't care about the truth. They're just trying to win an argument.
That same science demonstrates that life doesn't arise from non-life. Hey, follow along if you would.
Why do you do this? Why do you always force us to point out that evolution and abiogenesis are not the same thing? Even if the first microscopic cellular life was poofed into existence by the cloud fairy, evolution can still happen afterward. Stop mixing these up, you look like an idiot.
Fact 1. There is no known observable process by which new genetic information can be added to an organism's genetic code. None.
Yeah, been there, done that. Moving on.
That pretty much refutes evolution right away because there's no way to go from a fish to an amphibian without adding new information, right? If living organisms cannot produce new genetic information, how can anything gradually change into something of higher intelligence or form or complexity? That is, how can anything evolve from an amoeba to a man without adding new genetic information?
Gee, I don't know. Random mutation coupled with natural selection, maybe. Already covered how mutation adds new information. Natural selection separates the good change from the bad change because the slower, stupider offspring break their own necks or get eaten by predators. It's a shame this pretty much only happens to humans if they get lost in the woods or play in traffic. There were some kids back in my old neighborhood we'd have all been better without.
Now, some have speculated and they have imagined all kinds of things, and they brought in artists to produce creative renderings based on guesses, and they have been successful in telling a very convincing story that humans evolved from ape-like creatures.
Don't you just love how literally centuries of research done on fossils and genetics gets reduced down to just imagining all kinds of things and guesses? If that's the game we're going to play, do you want to hear how I would describe the source of your worldview? Because I don't think you'll like it when the gloves are off, kiddo.
But those are just drawings, people. They're just stories.
Stories based on scientific data that have undergone more lab testing than your average passenger jet. And you trust those with your life. Just saying.
Never, again, never has it been observed that life can come from non-life.
You know what I've never heard? I've never heard one of these creationists actually define what they think the difference is between life and non-life. If they did see life come from non-life, what would they actually expect that to look like? Because no matter how you slice it, life is made up of non-life. If you were to reduce the human body to dust, like some sort of Star Trek transporter accident, you'd have a pile of non-living matter. Yet it's what was, until a few moments ago, alive. Things stop being alive when their body breaks. But I suspect that when they talk about life, they're trying to imply something a little more amazing, perhaps even magical, infused into that matter which could not come from the earth itself. 'Cause that'd be so much cooler.
So molecules to man evolution doesn't really make scientific sense. Yet we are all here, and life is all around us in various forms. Although evolution cannot account for this, the Bible can. The Bible reveals that the all-powerful, all-knowing, supernatural God created the heavens and the earth out of nothing.
Now wait just a fucking minute. Let me get this straight. We have artist renderings of descriptions provided by scientists who studied paleontology and genetics for almost 150 years.
But those are just drawings, people.
While an ancient pre-science book full of magic, written by multiple authors and without that kind of evidence, isn't just stories. If that's all it takes, then given the number of novels, video games, TV shows, and tabletop dice games there are, the galaxy far, far away full of Jedi and X-Wings really exists too.
So, again, what the Bible reveals makes sense of what we see and understand. Evolution does not. Enough said.
Oh, sure, the Bible makes sense of what we see, just so long as we don't take more than just a cursory glance and are willing to take our understanding of it at face value. I'm sure that'll be good enough for understanding the universe. Right. Anyway, there'll be a link to the original video in the description as always, but they've got it locked down pretty tight. No comments or ratings allowed. Scared of criticism, I guess. Their God's protection must not be enough from, a bunch of folks with keyboards and brains on the interwebs. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
Reading videos has been found to cause fresher breath, enhanced metabolism, and greater sexual magnetism.